So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the CC-Webinar.Live keynote and panel discussion session. And thank you for joining. We would like to thank Enxoo for sponsoring today's webinar live session. And for the audience, if you have any questions to our speakers and panelists, please do use the chat box option throughout the session. As said, I'm delighted on behalf of the CARI community to have keynote speaker Artur Ostrovsky and panelist Andrei, Gavin, and Abdullah will join us shortly today with me. Today we're going to discuss about the telco digital transformation and how to avoid major mistakes, so stay tuned. We will start the session with the keynote presentation by Artur from Enxoo, and afterwards we'll bridge this into the interactive panel session. And as always, I cannot do this by myself. I need the senior executives next to me here to discuss the topic. So I'll quickly give them a quick minute to introduce themselves. So Artur, good morning. Welcome to the session, and over to you.
Good morning, Eric. It's great to be here, especially among such great, respectable colleagues. My name is Artur Ostrovsky, and I'm Chief Commercial Officer at Enxoo. I will mention a little bit about the company later, but my background is last year's consulting, IT consulting at Enxoo, but prior to that, I spent 20 plus years in the telecom business, mostly on the wholesale side and enterprise B2B, managing different commercial operations at different service providers in Europe.
Okay, thank you very much, Artur, and welcome to you, Andrei.
Good morning, Eric. Good morning to everybody. Thanks for the introduction. Very shortly, some facts about me. So, Andrei Jankovic. I'm working for Deutsche Telekom. I'm also working, or mainly working, within the international wholesale area, and there I'm responsible for digitization, customer experience, and process optimization. So, thanks to you, Eric. I would hand now back to you.
Thank you and welcome to the session. Over to you, Abdullah. Quick introduction from yourself. Yeah, thank you, please.
I'm from Oman Telecommunication Company, and we are in the digital services divisions, and I'm very specialized on the e-care services side.
Okay, thank you very much and welcome to the session, Abdullah. So last but not least, Gavin, over to you.
Thank you, Eric, and good morning, everybody. My name is Gavin Ree. I'm Chief Technical Officer at Gulf Prince International. We're a Qatar-based company that runs an undersea cable network that interconnects all of the Gulf countries and extends onto Europe and to India. We deliver enterprise capacity and IP services to our customers. We're entering a digital transformation experience, and we're at the early stages, and we'll share our experiences on that. And I look forward to interesting discussions with my panel colleagues. Thank you very much, Gavin, and welcome to you as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about the digital transformation and how to avoid mistakes. The session again is sponsored by Enxoo. So, Artur, quickly over to you to give a quick introduction of Enxoo. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Hopefully you can see the screen. Can you confirm?
Absolutely. Perfect.
Excellent.
Thank you.
So I will just take a few minutes to tell you a little bit more about Enxoo, and hopefully giving an opening statement or opening questions for the panel, where I'm very much looking forward to hear the views of my colleagues about digital transformation, their experience, the mistakes they see, and how to avoid that. And hopefully I can also add a little bit of my view. It is a very senior topic, talking about the experience. And yesterday I turned 50, so hopefully I earned a
happy birthday
to participate and give my views on the digital transformation. But first, about the company, for those who don't know Enxoo, we are a IT consulting company based in Poland, operating mostly in Europe, but also the Middle East, Asia, and the US with the customers there. And what we do is we provide the consulting professional services around the Salesforce technology, helping people to run a business transformation on top of Salesforce. And the areas that we focus mostly is about automation of the processes. We focus on the business processes, so we are not a network consulting company. We are a business process consulting company, but we integrate a lot of the business processes with the network layer for more automation. Another area that is really important for us and where we think we add value to our customers, we help them to improve operational visibility so they can make better data-driven decisions. And finally, or even most important, we help them to increase customer experience and improve efficiency, something that we know all carriers, telcos need. We are somewhat different than many of Salesforce consulting companies operating around the globe. And the difference comes with our industry approach. Almost 80% of our business is telco related. So we tend to work with a lot of carriers, and we tend to, by doing that, get a lot of insights of how the industry works. What are the pain points? What are the issues? What are the best practices of solving this? And we believe that working with us through our industry experience helps to achieve better results, shorten implementation times, or avoid mistakes. I was talking about my 50th birthday. I will talk also about the 10th birthday of Enxoo. So in 2 weeks, we are throwing a big party for all our employees here in Poland to celebrate 10 years of the company. The company started with just a very small, 3-person boutique and grew to 250 people today. So I'm sure it's going to be a very interesting time in 2 weeks. We are talking about the mistakes, and many people stated often that the best way of not making mistakes is not to do anything. But this, I think, is no longer true. I think this is the first mistake. Today, vast majority of us need to do something, need transformation. There are very, very few people who would be happy doing nothing. So the first thing when we are talking about the mistakes is really not thinking about your digital transformation, not doing it, and you can avoid it by simply starting. But if you do that, and if you decide to start, well, this is where the real journey starts. And we are seeing this as a journey, and where we are thinking Enxoo in terms of the digital transformation partner, we see ourselves as a little bit of a guide or a partner in this transformation, because it is not a one-time job. It is not a one-time event. It's not just a delivery of one system. We see digital transformation as something that is a continual transformation. So this is one of the first things that we are always trying to discuss with our customers, that it's not about just delivering one system. It's about where do we want to go in the longer term and the steps we take on the way. So just the first sort of remark is, don't think about the digital transformation as a one-off. Think about it as a journey. And if you are prepared for this journey, then there are sort of many things that you have to think of. And on every occasion, on every area, every question you get there, this is where those mistakes might happen. And there are questions around what you want to do, and starting with the motivation. Why do you start transformation? Is it a replacement of the legacy system, which is fairly straightforward and simple, or it's more about the efficiency or automation of the processes? Or is it about creating a new value proposition through digital transformation? So these are very important questions that you have to answer, and that has a big consequences of what you will be doing and how. Is it about the BSS, OSS? Is it about the integration? Is it about the network? Is it about the analytics? It's about the data-driven decisions. So there is a lot of questions that you will ask yourself, and you need to build a strategy around what you really want to do. But once you know or have the intention or a vision of what you want to do, then another maybe even bigger question is how to do it. There are different approaches. There is a big bang approach versus a point solutions. What are the pros and cons of each of those approaches? There is I think a big question many people don't understand the importance of at the beginning about the architecture, and specifically about the flexibility of the architecture. Because in IT, it is fairly easy to make a first steps. So it's very easy to show first results. But those first steps have consequences that you don't see in the first steps. Right, so you might be happy with the results you see in the first steps, but that could have a consequences on the steps you don't even think of yet today. So how much flexibility you build in the platform or in the architecture that you are implementing or plan to implement. Flexibility, of course, comes at the cost short term, but long term it might convert into lower total cost of ownership. So very, very important question around that. Another very important question, I think, especially nowadays, and many people talk about it, is how much out of the box, how much custom. We've seen a lot development in the IT platforms for the past 10, 15 years, and there is a lot of solutions that are available out of the box. But there are also consequences with going out of the box. There are consequences of going a custom solutions, and how much of the standardization we take, and how do we make sure that out of the box systems or solutions we are actually able to create something unique that will differentiate us on the market. And the last part that I would mention here around how is maybe something not very obvious, but something that we see often, and it's implementation versus value realization. And the tendency to focus too much on implementation part and not enough on the value realization. I'm sure we'll have more space to talk about it later, so I will just stop here, and I will just mention very, very briefly the last part, which is who, which is all about the team, the culture we build, the openness to change. How do we create a culture with multiple stakeholders, multiple companies? How do we partner and make them one team? What do we understand as agility? It's here. Everyone praises agility, but too often it is just a buzzword, and it's not enough about really the methodology that is behind and that helps us really to be agile. So many questions, and I hope to discuss some of those today, and very much waiting to hear from my colleagues here on their experience. So with that, thank you, Eric, and that's about my slides. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Artur and Enxoo, of course, for this introductory presentation, this keynote presentation. So thank you very much. And again, I mean, in 2 weeks' time, Artur, we are in Berlin at the GCC in Berlin, which will be huge. And we're going to have to celebrate your birthday and the 10th year of Enxoo. So I hope that that's a promise. So thank you so much. I don't see any questions from the audience, actually. So what I would like to do is actually to get Andre, Gavin, and Abdullah kindly into the discussion together with Artur and myself. So Andre, if I may start with you. The topic is telco digital transformation and how to avoid major mistakes. If people talk about digital transformation and the telco digital landscape, You being with one of the biggest operators, Deutsche Telekom, can you give us an overview what you see from an operator perspective? What do you see, and what are we talking about? And maybe you can tell us about some trends that you might see in the mistakes that we see around us.
Eric, happy to do so. Happy to share my belief, my experience, without knowing if I can really avoid or help avoiding mistakes of others. I think making mistakes is also not a so bad thing. I think not starting is even worse. Yeah, maybe about digital landscape and developments. First of all, underlining once more, we are talking about wholesale, where we might have some differences. 5 to 10 years ago, if we talked about digitization, we mainly meant one IT tool and how to replace it or how to optimize. Yeah. If I look now on our current discussions, it's about how to integrate our systems even with suppliers, with customers. And our customers are not end customers, are here really carriers. So from, I would say, tool development, we are now into a discussion how to integrate in the market, yeah, across the entire value chain. And here, for sure, the topic of API comes in. Yeah, and as we are also talking about somehow to don't build an own interface to every supplier, we also have here the topic of market standardization, even driven by TM Forum or by MEF. I think this is for us specifically really a key topic. Yeah, so number one. Number two is, if we are also into selling our products in a digital way, it's about that we need to digitize our product. So I think this is number two, to make them bookable. Also, the pricing topic needs to be thought through. So number two. Number three is, I think, comparing to a tool which needs to be developed or optimized. Here we are in a really complex environment. So here's a target picture and also the architecture. So how do we reach it? What are the components is really key. So for me, digital landscape would mean API standardization, would mean digitization of products, and would mean being really good in creating a target picture and the architecture, how to get there. This would be my first feedback on this one, Eric.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's go quickly to the Middle East, to GBI. Gavin, what is your take on the digital landscape? What we see and what we are talking about? And maybe GBI has gone through some transformation as well, and maybe you made one or two mistakes where you say, well, you know what, guys, watch out for this, because don't make the same one, or maybe you saw some trends and mistakes around you. What's your take on that one, Gavin?
Thanks, Eric. Yeah, as has been said previously, it's not just digitalization within the company now. It's digitalization with your customers and your suppliers, and even to the point of not just giving your customer a portal, it's integrating through APIs into their systems that give their people the direct access, and vice versa for us into suppliers. The key is to plan it, as was said, target diagrams. Another key pickup from my side, and it's talking to your existing people. It's clearing their minds to make them think of the future. Obviously, people who've been in businesses are used to using tools or systems that work in certain ways. That may not be the best way for the business. And because they've been trained that way, they've using it, they've learned where to get the tricks or to get around the current limitations of the system. It's opening their minds. And I think that's the vision that you need to have as any transformation, is give that target picture. But to get the target picture, you then need to get the architecture right underlying. And you can make mistakes. You could say, well, I need the system to do what my previous system does. But what actually is that? And how do you explain that to your developers and your partners in terms that they understand? It's very easy internally to say, well, I want it to do this. But then when you talk to an external company who's developing the tool or the way it's working, They have their own mind, their own training. You need to give them good user cases. And it's that mindset that people need to be embedded, trained about, learned about, and encouraged to contribute. No idea is bad in this stage. So I think from our experience, it is challenging the mindset. And that's where mistakes can be made. Okay, it should do this, but is that right for the business? And have we gone wide enough across the business from the procurement system, the network management systems, and are we integrating them in the right way? So I think it's a great challenge, and when mistakes will be made. And I think, as was said earlier, you've got to think of how to implement it. You can't just, in my view, you can't just eat the elephant in one whole bite. You've got to do it in stages, because you'll learn as you go. You'll find that, okay, this doesn't work. Recognize it doesn't work. Learn from your mistakes. And then, okay, how far do we go back? And with a clean architecture at the bottom, you should be able to make those changes as you go. And it's, again, continuous improvement. It's not just one shot and, a year later, everything's fine. It's then you've got to keep evolving. And it's having that mindset. It is an evolution. It's not just a clear project. It stops. It's then, where do we go next?
So to really make sure that next to the architecture, the planning, the interface, educating, teaching, and keeping this as an ongoing process, actually to reflect and to improve yourself, but also your customers, and help them with it, which is not an easy task, Gavin, right?
Very much so. You've got to educate your customers, work with your customers, explain what's happening, and learn
take
from
their
feedback.
Yeah, exactly.
And then from them, take their feedback. You might propose something and they say, well, that's not quite what we want. Don't say that's what you're getting. Be open to change, because you might find that out of 3 different customer views, you can come with one that maybe does 95% and makes everybody's lives better. So you've got the assessment, and it's got to be hands-on management of it.
Okay, thank you, Gavin. So let's stay in the Middle East, to the beautiful country of Oman. Abdullah, what is your take on it? What can you give us an overview of what you see of trends and in the whole digital transformation landscape? You're mute. The famous words in 2021.
I thought like you are going to unmute me. That's why. Sorry about that. Anyway, you are the boss, right? So the things is here, the digital transformation is a must actually those days, and all like the organizations, whether it's a telco or not, it should take the digital transformation as a serious, let's say, topics, and they should do it in a right way. What I like, and the topic of this webinar is like to avoid the mistakes of the digital transformations. Okay, now, if we are going to specifically talk about like the mistake that you should avoid, actually, that means like to learn actually from the experience that other people's maybe did, or you do the types of analytics or analyzing, the situation on the proper way to avoid getting into the mistakes. Okay, and that's why we like the consultancies people, they will just came into the picture now. And in the digital transformations, like one of the biggest actually challenges that people or like the organization may face is the culture of, there is certain pillars in the culture of the organizations where like we need to look at, because in the digital transformation, like there is a lot of investments going to happen, no matter of this, like from the size of the resources, of the size human resources, or like from the size also from the money or the budgetary or something like that need to be there. And so the ROI is very important there, and the financial visibility is also need to be there. That's why the culture of the top management here, it's very important to understand where we are going and why we are going to that, and how to do it. So there is some types of, let's say, if we are going to talk like part of the main and major pillars of the digital transformation, is And the challenges that we are facing, like they are saying to you, like there is no benchmark of what you are going to do. All right. So maybe, okay, I want to be the first who's doing it. All right, it's fine. But you know, the top management, they just come to you and say like, why you are going, there is no benchmark for that. So you need to fight for it in a way, all right, to have it. So the culture of the company or of the organization is need to be there, especially in the telco side, where like they are selling some types of products, and that products, it's built on top of how you understand your customers. So the data that you are collecting about your customers, which like you going to understand, or also where is the pains to solve the problem, it should be there. Although for that, so the structure of the company or the top management people, they need to have this little bit of risk management. If I'm right to say, like they should have the courage little bit to take the risk, or to minimize it at least. Yeah, and if we are, yeah, but they should give the chance, okay, for the new brains, for the new ideas, for the new how you will drive the digitalization on this, and how we are going to invest to give the product on the digital way in such way. All right, this is one of the things like we are really not addressed. And second things is like, you know, again, the process is sometimes is killing, you know, the ideas, okay, to get the green light to go ahead. And even if you have the green light to go ahead, the multi stages or steps approvals, it will make you a little bit maybe behind sometimes, in a way like you need to go fast. All right, so the privileges that it's need to be given to the leaders of the transformations, or the people who are handling the digital transformation, and the trust, it's little bit we need to raise it a little bit more, so they can take the decision immediately without going back to take some types of approval, which you are going to take it at the end, but the process is going to take a little bit time, which make your organization a little bit behind. And you know, of course, on our fields of business, the user experience and the user interfaces of your digital services is one of the most important, because where it's like the most easy it is the most complexity it is. Where it's like most complex it's going to be. So from my opinion, like if we are going to talk about like the mistakes like we need to be to avoid for any digital transformations, that, as you said, like in the beginning, and as they explained, like the strategy should be very clear, and according to that strategy need to put a very clear plan, and according to the plan, the roadmaps should be very also specific, and with the culture changes from the top management and the processes, that it should goes on the right way. So a lot of organizations, especially when we started in the beginning, they want us to be digital. They want to have the digital, and we have the strategy for it. But again, the process is killing us to go ahead with it.
Can imagine, Abdullah, and thank you very much. And by the end of the day, if there is no benchmark, sometimes you can say, so what? No
Exactly.
pain, no gain. So we have to go through it. We need to make our mistakes, and of course, hopefully within the budgets and within, you know, within the process and the methodology. So let me go for let's say a last opening statement, which you already gave, of course, to Arthur from Enxoo. But Arthur, do you have, let's say any examples of trends that you saw where people or companies or operators made some mistakes? What can you tell us? You're on mute.
Yeah, I'm here.
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah, thanks a lot. So I think there are trends, and the mistakes are changing, and it starts from how we see mistakes. So we already mentioned here that mistakes are good because they help us to learn from something. It's good not to repeat mistakes, and it's even better to learn from mistakes of others. But if you ask about the trends and what is changing in terms of the mistakes we make, I think it reflects of what is happening with the industry. So and I think this is Andrei who mentioned that the IT changed and the challenges in the IT changed over the last, I don't know, 5-10 years, where before it was more about how do we put the processes and data in one place so we have the overview and we can, you know, control it in a better way, to what I call today really how do we actually create value out of it, right? And by creating value, I see it in twofold. One is, okay, efficiency. So how do we automate more? How do we get more efficiency? But even more, and this is the trend I like with the wholesale industry recently, how do we get into the new value proposition by building our ecosystem play, right? Previously, wholesale was about, okay, this is my network, these are my fibers, you know, I'm happy to deliver the fibers to others. That thinking is gone, and it's more about, okay, how do I play the part of the ecosystem where with other telco players, other ICT players, other cloud players, I actually create a value proposition that I can deliver in simplified, zero touch, on demand, one click matter. So this is much more sexy thinking of a digital transformation, but also that it's much more demanding on the organization. So you can make bigger mistakes or different mistakes of a different magnitude. And a lot was already said, so let me just mention one thing which I, as a trend in making mistakes, is because of the challenges, of the changes where we are and what we do and how we use IT today and how we see the reason for digital transformation is becoming more and more important. And that is detachment between the executive vision and the operational day-to-day. Right, so we are today running digital transformation to really change the businesses, to get into the new spaces that we have not been before. And this is definitely an executive vision. But if you run a digital transformation program where this vision is not properly distributed to the organization, it's not explained to the organization, people don't understand it, then it becomes a sort of a cargo code. We build the system because we build the system, and this is and that becomes a purpose of itself, just building the system, not really running the transformation. So I think this is a very, very important thing. How do we make sure that we get the executive vision, executive leadership, having the enough impact on what we are doing with the digital transformation? How do we get our executives on a daily basis in running those digital transformation programs to help us run the change that we are trying to do with our organizations?
Okay, thank you. Talking about changes, and maybe Andrei, I can address this to you first. If we see, let's say, the changes in operations, if we see changes in maybe even business models or organizations, what, let's say, major changes do you see? Well, then maybe you have some examples. I don't know.
I think change I do see since, I don't know, 20, 30 years. But I think the biggest difference, compared to the last 5 years is the content itself. So the understanding of digital topic, of digitization. So before we had, I don't know, customer experience and other topics there, we only had the challenge of the change itself, not to understand in detail the content and the implications. So it's really, this is the core of the topic. So, but for me, rather how to overcome. And I think somebody also mentioned this already, understanding what is the core and what this digitization is about. And there's a lot of technology aspects also in. Therefore, training is here key. And it starts, from my perspective, with the management, because they need to steer, they need to also to support and guide. So here for digitalization topics, I think training of management is a starting point. Yeah. A second one, which is also maybe current challenges, are also influence mostly our feedback. If I look on the statement I made before, like regarding to digitize our products, I think one of the challenges also to take the product managers into this new area. Yeah, because they need to think how to digitize their products. This is the starting point for let's say commercializing and earning our revenues with it.
Okay, thank you. Gavin, any thoughts on this one, on the changes we see throughout our operations and so on?
I think obviously there are changes in the operations of the company. As you automate, roles will change, their inputs, their activities will change, and that's going to be very careful. Need careful management to bring them with you. As I said earlier, sharing of the vision is important because people need to know the role that they're playing in it. They also need to know that it's not a threat to their job. What you're doing is helping them become more efficient and actually do things that can be automated to bring bigger value to your company. So you need to then educate them that no, we're not removing you. We're going to grow. You're going to grow with us, and we'll find a role for you that suits your skills and actually stretches you. And I think that's a very key thing that the transformation has got to take into account, and careful management to the people and bringing them with you. And there will be multiple changes if you're doing a long transformation. You'll do it in stages. So you might change roles at day 1, then at day 5, and then later on. So it is that management of your people. People are one of your biggest assets, and having the right people in the right place is what you need.
Okay, thank you. Talking about the human capital, Abdullah, maybe for you. And Gavin was talking about it already a bit, and the other guys as well. How can we prepare, let's say, the teams to get on board and to embrace this change from your point?
I think like there is something like here, like I would like to add really in this, and we have the experience in this, like where like you. The major things like in the digital transformation is like the business people who are not into IT and who are not into technical should understand what the digital transformation, because it's not their core, to be an IT, like to understand, for example, how to use, for example, let's say the network, or how to use, for example, how to build the app or whatever. But the thing is like to understand the digital or the digitization from the side of the business, all right? And to do this, you need to enable in between the technical and the business, like a Mediterranean, where like he can talk the 2 languages, who can understand the technical side and to talk business at the same time. So they're like where like, let's say the digital services will come up, right? So here, the most actually challenges, like I saw it from the digital transformations for the organizations, is like the business or the core business guys or the core business people, they don't understand digitization on the way. So they don't have, the willingness, or let's say the courage to go ahead with digitizing themselves to it. All right, to digitize their products, because they don't know how actually, and they don't know how much, even if he do have it, but he don't understand it from the technical side, because he's not a technical person at the end. He's from the core business of producing a product to a customer. All right. So the things is like to enable this Mediterranean, let's say, specialized people who can talk both languages, technical and business at the same time, to make it simple when they took the requirements from the business and explain it to the technical, and the way, and the vice versa, you know, the way back again.
Okay, so Gavin, what Abdullah's actually saying, you should inform and educate your teams better, because you're the CTO of GBI. So what's your take on that one? You're being accused.
No, I fully agree with what Abdullah's saying. That's what we need to do, and that's what we're doing, and it's got to be planned. It's got to be part of your kickoff, your vision, and it's got to go through. Everybody's got to understand, and as you said, mediators, people to take the technical and explain it to the business people, you know, what's happening, how it can help them. That's the message that we need to give. And that may be where you need a key partner. You need somebody to support that from outside your organization who has those skills. You may not have those in your business. You bring them in to be a key partner in ensuring the process is smooth and people are taken with you. So I think that's the message, you know, I was trying to give as well, but it is facilitating that is what you need. And it's a very complex project, transformation. You've got to think about it at the beginning. You've not got to wait until everything's perfect, but the key points need to be dealt with: the vision, the communication, and taking your people with you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Arthur. I mean, Gavin was talking about you know, look for the right partners to help you and to support you in your digital transformation journey. So, if partnering is becoming more key, why is a good partner relevant in guiding you actually through the digital transformation? What's your take on that?
I think for multiple reasons, and to start with, transformation is not easy, right? Transformation is a change, and we have a tendency, people have tendency of not liking the change. So there is a lot that needs to happen in the organization on multiple levels to really embrace change and go there. It starts from really the culture, and building the culture that supports the change, and even in that part, I see that the partner can be a helpful support for telcos. Telcos typically, historically, telcos don't like change, because we've been the organizations, they've been investing a lot of capex in fibers and praying no one else will invest the capex in the fiber along our route, right? So we've been praying for no change in a way. And I think this mentality is still a little bit there. Hopefully in wholesale it is changing, because we've been always open to partnering more than some other parts of telco, and understanding that partner can come and can come with the experience that will help us avoid mistakes, will help bringing best practices, is growing. The appreciation for the role of partner, and as I said, there is a reason we are not building the cars ourselves, because we should be focusing on our core business and inviting people to help us with something that lays a little bit outside of the core business. I'm not trying to say that the transformation is not a core business of telcos, because I think it is, but there are certain roles that the telcos should play, but there are certain roles where partner can actually fill in the gaps telcos have today, with skills, with experience, with expertise, but also with culture. Maybe last remark on the culture, because I will give you the practical example, what we see sometimes on our projects. everyone talks about agile today. And if you ask anyone, they will say, yes, agile is the way forward. But very often they don't really know what that agile means. They know it as maybe as a philosophy, but they don't know what it means to run a project in an agile way, right? Are we talking about Scrum, Kanban? What about the Scrum at scale? What about the agile ceremonies? And people are afraid of saying they don't know. And we've seen multiple times the situation where we would assume our customer knows what the agile is, because they've been afraid to say they don't, right? And our expertise with coming and bringing the methodology is also something that can help them internally change the culture.
Okay, thank you, Andrei. Sometimes the people say that timing is also one of the key success factors. I'm not sure if you agree with that, but what is a good time to start let's say your transformation, and do you agree that timing is key? I mean, it is going so fast. That's what we said already at the start, but is it really true, or are we stuck a bit into, let's say, so many processes or changing the processes that the whole transformation is taking longer? So not only timing, but maybe as well a bit on the planning and keeping the planning to date, actually.
Okay, as timing is running, I will be quite crisp on this one. So I would not understand why somebody is waiting to kick off the transformation. And really looking back the last 10 years, I'm feeling that I'm going from one transformation to another. Yeah. Secondly, I think what was I was not the only one. I think I heard it 2 or 3 times. It's about the target picture and architecture. I think this we need to have, or we will get lost in this transformation. Yeah, but I think regarding the time, the key question is how much patience has the organization regarding waiting to see the impact and the results. So I think we need to have, let's say, some meaningful steps where we also have some tangible results. Yeah, and this again, how big the steps can be depends on the organization, and then also how much invest on top we need to put into the systems to be able to achieve those. Yeah, so I think this is somehow my view on this topic.
Okay, so what you're actually saying is people should already have started. So timing is absolutely important. It's a constant process of keeping changing, keeping transforming, and keep moving on, and to have, let's say, key milestones within that planning, within that process. Hence, to measure actually the process, how it's going. Gavin, from your point of view, timing and planning, what's your take?
We agree that, the sooner you start, the sooner you see the results. But I think as part of, being such a big project, as we said earlier, do you do it in one shot or do you plan it out? You've got to look at what your vision is, what your target picture is, and from a business perspective, what's going to give you the most benefits initially. The 80-20 rule. Do 20% of the work to get the 80% of the benefits. So those have all got to be taken into account. You've also got to look at, obviously, your business, how it runs, what the impacts to the business would be. You wouldn't want to necessarily introduce a new total finance model just before the yearly results are due. You've got to look at all those. So it's that level, it's down to the key planning. So it's priorities, benefits, and the planning. And as was said, keeping to the plan, but being agile in the plan if things do change.
Okay, thank you. Abdullah, what from your point of view and from Omantel point of view, what are the main opportunities, and how does or can it affect actually your customers? And maybe you can give us some pros and cons.
Sorry, but I didn't get your question in the right way. I want to understand it more.
Okay, I'll repeat it. So what are the main opportunities do you see, and how can it affect, let's say, our end customers?
Okay, there is of course a lot, because if you are not getting into the digital transformation, then you will be late and you will not provide the services as the customer expectation, and then you will give the opportunity for your competitor to take it, of course, from you. But the thing is, like that, I would like also is to highlight a little bit is. The digital transformation is not only that you would like to transform yourself into digital way because you want to have, let's say, maybe the revenue or something like that, as much as you are really focusing, on that you would like to serve or to provide the services on the way that your customer is looking at, and to make it as much as easy and simple and reachable at the same time. This is from side, like you are really care about your customer from your heart, from your inside. You love your customer, you love who's you are dealing with. So the digital services or the digital product here is that you are creating it to serve him more. So from that point of view.
Okay, and of course there is a competitive edge, as you mentioned. If you don't do it, the rest your competitor will do it, and you're thrown back a little bit more. But on the other hand, is it not that we talk too much about the digital transformation? Yes, we knew we have to, we need to move on. We need to move on. Are we not making ourselves a little bit crazy? A bit an offside question, Arthur. What's your take? And maybe you can bridge this into, let's say, the main opportunities that you see for the end customers.
Yeah. So no, I don't think we are overstating the importance. It is important, but as I mentioned before, it cannot become a cargo cult. It cannot become the purpose of itself. There needs to be a business value of it. We need to clearly understand what we are trying to achieve, and by the end of the day, we should be able also to measure it and understand whether we did achieve the tangible business results. So in a way, I can mention that it is not overstated, but at the same time, we need to make sure that we are not only just building new systems, but we are generating the business value of existing or delivered parts of the business transformation. Business transformation is a process that will be happening over many, many years. We cannot just be chasing and jumping to the new area without forgetting of what we have already delivered. So this creates one of the opportunities. Make sure that whatever you invested in, whatever the system you have developed, whatever the functionality you delivered to your customers, your employees, your partners, you put enough attention to making sure that you get the best business results. Think about the adoption. Think about the data quality. Think about the support for your end users, so they exactly know not only how to use the system, but how to create value out of this system. So that would be the one of the opportunities. The other opportunities that are there in the wholesale business or telco business are quite obvious. It is about integrating your business support systems with your network, both for more automation, for zero-touch quoting, zero-touch provisioning, but also for more insights and understanding what is really happening between your business data and your network data, your network inventory. And finally, the integrations with other partners, utilizing the standards, not reinventing the wheel, supporting the MEF, for example, MEF standards, working with TM Forum standards and embracing those. So those are the opportunities I see for telcos to run the digital transformation.
Okay, thank you, Arthur. So guys, I see we still have only a couple of minutes left for this webinar here. So I would like to go into, let's say, our into our closing round, as I would tend to call it. So Andre, if I may start with you, what can we expect? What is your view on let's say a bit about the future? I mean, I don't know. I know nobody has the glass ball, but what's there around us? What's there to happen? What will we see? What can you share with us?
Okay. Maybe if you allow me one more sentence regarding the opportunities, because this belongs for me into the topic of future.
Yep.
I think if we start early, if we embrace the topic, yeah, it's about monetization of our networks. I think this is the key topic. And if we build up capabilities quite fast as a company, we are also able to offer those as a service. So I think those are things which we'll see in the future, how good the carriers are doing on this one. Then maybe secondly, what I mentioned as a starter, API first. I think this topic will just heavily accelerate. Yeah, I think also we will see that that managers need really to understand digitization. I think Mohammed did call it business needs to understand. I think this we will see. Also, we will see a lot of trials at this one. And we will see a fight for resources. Yeah, the guys who know how to do it will become even more expensive on the market. So this would be my closing words.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you, Gavin. What is your takeaway?
I think it's like transformation, change. It's always there, be it digital, be it business. And as technology evolves, as the world evolves, demands change, we need to be keeping on top of it. We need to be leading, working with our customers to understand their requirements and being innovative. And as I said earlier, the processes, we just don't transform once, it's continuous. You've got to have a system that supports this, and you've got to learn when to move on to your next system. The technology moves on, so you don't sit with your old Pentium PC, you move on to an i7. So you've got to give an example. So you've got to plan that as well, and be aware of developments, what customers want, what suppliers are doing, what's been out there, and picking what is best for you. One word that's used openly, but means different things to different people: software-defined networks. Part of the digital transformation, key part of it. But for each of our companies, what is our software-defined network will be different. Mm-hmm. And you've just got to be very clear on what you're doing. And I think that's, it's been keeping on top of it and being part of your culture, being part of your business culture. Transformation and the digital part of it are very important to take businesses forward. As I say, change is continuous. If you don't change, ultimately you'll die. So that's what we've got to all focus on.
All right. Abdullah, what is your main message to the outside world?
So I'm not going to add much about what people are saying. They covered mostly everything, but the things is like, it's really like the digital transformation is the reflection of the company from the real world into the virtual world. And the things is we need to have the real desire of giving the services on the right way, and this is. It should be our major thing, like why we are digitizing, why we are going digital transformation is because we would like to provide the service in a better way.
Okay, thank you. Arthur, your famous last words for this session.
Difficult to add anything more, but from me, maybe the most important thing is don't treat digital transformation as a one-off. Treat it as a journey, and have a vision, know what you want, where you want to go, know what your target architecture is, but run relatively short projects or phases to deliver on that, to also satisfy your organization with the results early enough and not waiting too long for it. Invest in your team, invest in the culture in your team, not only on the operational level, promote the leadership, transformation leadership to really executive positions, so they can embrace the change in the telco organizations.
Cascade.
utilize the standards, and finally, hopefully, look for partners.
Okay, thank you very much, Artur. So, ladies and gentlemen, it seems that we are heading towards the end of the session, and we were talking about today about the telco digital transformation, and especially on how to avoid the major mistakes. I would like to thank you, our keynote speaker, Artur, and our sponsor, Enxoo. So thank you for that, Artur.
Thank you very much. Our pleasure.
And of course for everybody, for you out there, for your participation and giving interesting presentations. So and of course to our senior panel here, to Andrei, Abdullah, and Gavin. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It has been a pleasure having you, and thank you for sharing your knowledge. And of course to everybody out there, to the audience for participating and listening. So this panel will be soon available to watch on our CC Media portal. We're looking forward to welcome you both in our virtual and physical events this year. In 2 weeks, we have GCC in Berlin coming up, guys. So please visit our events and events portal for more information about that. If you're interested in supporting and sponsoring one of our future branded webinars, please contact our CC team. And for all updates and fresh content, follow us on the 4 social media channels, which are of course Twitter, Carry Community, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So again, Artur, thank you so much. Andrei, Gavin, and Abdullah, thank you so much. Thank you, audience. Stay safe and healthy. Goodbye, and we'll see you soon on this platform.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.